going to be wellness. And we're going to talk about what that means for your family. So the title of the presentation today is Wellness is a Family Affair. So I apologize if this is repeat information to anyone who attended our last session a few weeks ago. But my name is Bridget. I'm a registered dietitian. A lot of people ask me, what is a registered dietitian? What is the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist? So the difference is all dietitians have the same curriculum that they study in school. They also attend a very rigorous accredited internship program, which is similar to a residency that a physician would attend. We also pass a board exam and become licensed with the state and are required to complete continued education every year to maintain our license. So when you are seeking out an expert in nutrition, you know that dietitians all have the consistent education and background and are recognized in the medical community as clinicians. Whereas nutritionists, there's no consistent type of education. Anyone can call themselves a nutritionist. So that is the difference between the two. A little bit about myself and my background. I was a registered, so there I helped develop nutrition education classes. I trained dietitians and nutritionists in counseling. And I also worked with families closely who had special needs, such as children that were underweight, maybe overweight, pregnant women with gestational diabetes, premature babies. I worked closely with them to help create behavior changes and improve their health in the home. I currently am on the policy council with Early Head Start. I've been with, I think, Early Head Start working together for about 5 years now. And I'm also on the medical advisory board for Early Head Start. Currently, I work with a company called URS Medical. So I'm working with a similar population that I worked with the WIC program, but children that have a little bit more complex medical needs. So I kind of help them transition from the hospital to the home if they were to have a feeding tube or medical equipment. We also provide supplies for families, such as diapers for kiddos who may have incontinence issues. So now I kind of have pivoted to where I'm working with a little bit more of a clinical environment and helping support complex feeding needs in the home as well as in the hospital. Okay, so the objectives of the presentation today, we're going to review what I call the wellness triad. So that's nutrition, physical activity, and sleep. So all three of those things are extremely important to our health and for us to be well. We're going to review mindfulness and stress management and then goal setting. So wellness, what does that mean? This is probably a term that you've become more familiar with over the last few years. It's kind of become a buzzword, partly because businesses, corporations, and insurance companies recognize that the healthier we are, the more productive we are, the more healthy our families are, the less we're missing work. And for insurance companies, the healthier we are, the less expensive we are as employees. So wellness is something that's become more popular and it's growing. A lot of corporations now even have wellness coordinators to help guide their employees to greater health. So what's the difference between wellness and health? Well, health is really kind of an outcome of wellness. Wellness leads to the state of health that we're in. So there's a lot of definitions of wellness, but the two I've listed here really are my favorite. And I think you do a really great job outlining what wellness entails. So wellness is an active process through which people become aware of and make choices towards a more successful existence. Wellness is considered a conscious, self-directed, and evolving process of achieving full potential. So it's a lifestyle and it's a lifelong effort of being healthy in mind, body, soul, and spirit. And wellness is something that's positive and affirming. So it should be something that's enhancing our life, not adding stress. Wellness is about being well overall. So we want to kind of show ourselves some grace when we're setting goals and making changes in our lives because it should be a positive thing. So what is the wellness triad? I found this image and I thought it was really a great illustration of what wellness looks like. So the main kind of, the big rocks to me for wellness is nutrition, exercise, and sleep. And the only way that we can make strides in being healthier in all three of those aspects is by being mindful. So if we think about, if we're setting a goal, everybody sets goals at the first of the year, right? To lose weight or be healthier. Well, the only way we can get there is being mindful and changing those behaviors so that we have the outcome that we want. So if I said, oh, starting the first of the year, I am going to exercise every morning, 5 days a week, but I didn't set my alarm or I didn't go to bed early, then I wouldn't be being mindful of this change that I'm trying to make. And when our nutrition, our sleep, and our exercise are balanced, our immunity improves, which I think is a really important thing to consider now. We're in a pandemic. Everyone's trying to stay healthy and stay well. Whenever our balance is balance in life, our wellness, it leads to a stronger immune system. So we're getting sick less frequently, and we also have an easier time to recover from illness. And flu season is around the corner. So no better time to start improving our health. So what is being mindful? Well, mindful is just being intentional about our behavior. A lot of times, if we think about whether it's a goal that we're setting at work, or it's a goal to finish school or go back to school, we have to take the steps to get there. Of course, it's important to verbalize that goal, decide what you want, but then we have to be intentional about what is going to lead up to that goal for success. So think about what you want, make a plan, and set a SMART goal. So we're going to circle back to that at the end of the presentation and kind of go over what that means. And stick it out. It doesn't happen overnight. Change takes time. You want the changes that you're making to become your new normal and it to be a lifestyle, not something that's temporary. So it's going to take time. I always tell the moms that I work with who are trying to lose the baby weight, I tell them, well, it took 9 months for your body to change to where it is now. So it's going to take some time to get back. But a lot of times we want to see that instant gratification. So don't get discouraged, stick it out. You will see the benefits in time. And forgiveness, cutting yourself some slack. Change is never easy. Life is not perfect. So if today is not a good day, that's okay. Tomorrow, new day, you can reset and forget about, maybe the goal that you didn't meet today or the vegetables that you didn't eat today. It's okay. It's about an overall picture. It's not breaking down from seconds to hours to days. It's an overall lifetime achievement. Okay, so we all have stress, especially now, kind of the state of the world. It can be a little bit stressful, and we cannot eliminate stress completely. All we can do is manage it and reduce it. So this is important because stress has a vital effect on our health. When we are stressed, it does manifest in our bodies, in our organs, in our skin. It elevates our blood pressure. It increases our risk for heart disease, obesity, diabetes. It can cause premature aging, which, all us ladies are trying to avoid that. It can interfere with sleep, cause stomach upset, cause overeating, undereating, depression. The list goes on. So it really is difficult to achieve wellness and balance in your life if the stress is not managed. So again, we can manage and we can reduce, but we can't eliminate. So a perfect example of this would be, say every day for work, you find yourself really on the edge of being on time and late. You kind of get there right on the dot. And you kind of fear there's going to be an accident or maybe something's going to happen with your kiddos because that's going to cause you to be late. So a way you can eliminate that stress is leaving maybe 5 or 10 minutes earlier, being intentional, making a change, or maybe packing your lunch the night before instead of that morning. So now you can eliminate that stress around being to work on time and allowing a capacity in your emotions and your brain to take on any stress that's unexpected. So you can really only hold that little bit of stress in your world to help kind of balance out the unexpected. So have a plan and be intentional. So we're going to talk about that a lot. You're going to see a lot of the effects of nutrition and stress management and exercise and sleep kind of overlapping and having the same positive effects on you. Self-care. So self-care is not optional. Self-care is a necessity. If we are pouring into others and pouring into our jobs and we're not filling our own cup, we are not going to have the capacity to care for others and be as successful and productive as we want to be. It is our responsibility and our responsibility only for our physical well-being and our mental well-being and investing in self-care. No one else can fill up that cup for us, so we have to be responsible for that. So something I want to mention too is being aware of yourself and your emotions. So there is a very big difference between having a stressful week, having a deadline at work, the kids may be driving you crazy just because they're having a bad day. There's not enough bubble baths and glasses of wine or whatever it is that helps you relax, pedicures, to help you recover from something that might be affecting you on a deeper level. If you find that you need support, there's a lot of resources out there, and it's up to you to recognize when you need a little bit of more help. So for example, we wouldn't put a Band-Aid on a broken bone, right? You would go to the hospital and you would get the care that you need. Well, our brains are a muscle. They also need to recover. They also get fatigued. Sometimes they get injured. And so they need to be cared for as well in the appropriate way. Luckily, mental health and the discussion surrounding mental health is becoming less taboo because we're recognizing that it's just like any other part of our body that needs recovery and sometimes needs a little extra TLC. So I listed a resource here, Child and Family Guidance Center. Childrenandfamilies.org is their website. They offer counseling and mental health services for the entire family, as well as they offer financial support for those services. Psychology Today is a great website where you can put in your zip code and your insurance if you have insurance. It will give you a list of mental health professionals in your area. Okay, so nutrition. So let's talk nutrition, what I call the non-diet. If we are trying to implement something with our nutrition that is not sustainable long-term, usually I consider that maybe like a fad diet. The other thing is no one likes to fail. So if we try to implement something really difficult, fad diet, where we can't enjoy meals with our friends or our family, or we can't enjoy our favorite foods, often you're kind of setting yourself up for failure, which can be really discouraging. So what we want to do is make sure that we're looking at the nutrition, something that we can sustain for a lifetime and something that's enjoyable and is positive. So why is nutrition important? So inflammation tends to be the precursor of most disease. That's kind of where it starts at the root issue, and then it grows into something bigger. So if we can reduce the inflammation in our bodies will be healthier overall. So there's some fancy words here, phytochemicals and antioxidants. Basically, that just is fruits and vegetables. That is the color of fruits and vegetables. So when you look at a tomato and you see that beautiful red color, or an eggplant, that deep purple, or blueberries, the blue, those are, the colors are made out of phytochemicals and antioxidants that help protect your cells and your body. So there's a reason why our parents told us eat your fruits and vegetables. It really does help protect our body. It helps our skin, our hair, our nails, and helps prevent disease. There are things that we're exposed to every day that are outside of our control, like pollution. And what that can do is it can release these little free radicals in our body, which are not good for us. And the phytochemicals and the antioxidants help reduce those so that we can help prevent cancer and other diseases. Fiber. So fiber is very important. Whenever we have a fatty meal, maybe we're having steak, but then we're also having broccoli. The fiber in that broccoli is going to help pull the saturated fat away from your heart and excrete it in your stool. So again, there's a reason why we eat fruits and vegetables, and people say to eat a lot of fiber and that it's good for you. Hydration. If we're dehydrated, it reduces our energy level by half. So I know most of the people watching today are parents, and we cannot afford to cut our energy level in half, especially since our kids' energy level is times 10 of ours already. So most people don't realize that water is very important for energy level and concentration. Aging, of course, if we're getting these beautiful nutrients in our body, we're going to age better. Bone health, we need our calcium, our vitamin D. And again, to talk about mental health, who doesn't want to be happy? Who doesn't want serotonin? Serotonin is the happy hormone. Well, our gut is lined with millions and millions of nerves. And so our GI helps not only with digestion, but to regulate our emotions. So the 95% of the serotonin is actually in your gut, in your intestines. So when you're feeding your intestines fiber and fruits and vegetables, you're kind of giving yourself a happy pill. So there's a reason why people say that they feel better mentally when they're eating better. It's because your GI is happier, and that's really where a lot of your emotions are controlled. You think about when people are nervous, sometimes they get an upset stomach, or athletes, they get an upset stomach because they're nervous about performing. That's because our nerves and our emotions are connected to our gut. Okay, so how do we eat healthier? This is a really simple way to help guide your nutrition and kind of planning your plate and your meals. So some of you might remember we had that the food guide pyramid many years ago. This has replaced the food guide pyramid. Basically, it's taking your plate and making sure that half of your plate has fruits and vegetables. So looking at your plate and making sure that it's colorful. So if you were to prepare a meal for your family and you are being intentional and mindful, and you notice that your plate is kind of tan, I say that Americans, we follow kind of a tan diet, meaning bagels, cereal, pasta, rice, bread, chicken, beef, fish. A lot of it is just tan, right? So we want these reds, these greens, these blues, these beautiful colors from fruits and vegetables. So this is a really easy way to kind of help balance your plate. So focusing on fruit helps, varying your veggies, getting some calcium-rich food. So of course we want that dairy in there, making half of your grains whole grains. So if you're like me and you enjoy your rice and your pasta and your bread, making an effort to try to make some of those whole grains, maybe getting a whole grain bread or doing a brown rice or a whole grain pasta. That also helps increase those antioxidants that we were talking about and that fiber. And then of course, we need that protein for our muscles. So we want to go with a lean protein majority of the time. So avoiding meats with skins and maybe avoiding some of those fatty cuts of meat. Okay, so fail to plan, plan to fail. I worked with a sports performance gym years ago and helped the athletes with their nutrition. And there was this coach who always said that. He always said, fail to plan, plan to fail. And that really stuck with me because that's true. Planning is being intentional and being mindful. And if we don't have a plan, it's hard to execute our goal. So I came up with kind of 10 tips that I think will help plan and guide you to better nutrition. So planning your weekly menu, I think that is really helpful. A lot of families will have kind of a rotating meatless Monday or a Taco Tuesday or a Friday night pizza night where they make your own pizza. You can buy a frozen crust and then put your veggies and your meat and your favorite cheese. That kind of helps eliminate that mystery that we all have every Monday. Like, oh gosh, what are we eating for dinner? What are we making for tomorrow? So kind of coming up with a little bit of a rotation, even getting the kids involved can be fun. I want to point out that Meatless Monday is not only helpful in terms of eating more fruits and vegetables, but also it really helps with your budget. Eliminating meat, one meal or two meals a week really can save you a significant amount of money. In the summertime, heating up our oven can be kind of miserable, or standing over a hot stove. So I suggest trying to grill or doing crock pot meals, kind of save on your energy bill and be a little more comfortable. Again, making half of your plate fruits and veggies. Focus on frozen produce. It's cheaper. You're less likely to find a science project growing in your refrigerator because you didn't eat those frozen produce or those fresh produce. So just trying to buy frozen and on sale is just as good as the fresh, if not better. And prepping your produce. So for example, if you buy a pineapple or a papaya or a cantaloupe, when you get home from the grocery store, cutting that up and putting it in the fridge. That way it doesn't go what I call into the rotterator, because nobody, when they're hungry, wants to sit and cut up a pineapple. But if it's already there, most likely you're going to eat that produce and it's accessible to your children. Also prepping produce. So if you know that you cook with a lot of chopped onions or peppers throughout the week, coming home from the grocery store, chopping up all those onions, chopping up those peppers and putting them in the fridge. So when it's time to cook, you just throw them in the pan. Focusing on lean protein. Checking for a manager's special is a great idea because it's a lot less expensive than the other meats, because I think that's pretty much the bulk of the grocery bill is going to be your proteins. So finding meat that's on clearance, manager special, and then stocking up and freezing that and using it for later can help with your budget. Making half your grains whole grains, focusing on maybe some brown rice or whole grain pasta, low fat dairy instead of full fat. So cutting back on that saturated fat and making sure we're getting our calcium and our vitamin D. And then this is really where that planning comes in. So a lot of us are working from home, but hopefully in the future we will be going back to our offices. So carrying your lunch and snacks to work is very helpful. Not only because if you get busy and you really don't have a lot of time to go and grab something, but also because it's less expensive. If you think about if you're eating out at lunch 2 or 3 or 4 times a week, that bill really adds up. So you can just take some leftovers from dinner the night before, put it in a container, put it in the fridge, and then you're good to go for the next day. Also, when you're stressed and you're tired at work, and then you have to run and go grab something to eat, you're more likely to go for something that's really fatty and salty, which might be like a burger and fries, and it's harder to stay on track with your nutrition. Some healthy snacks that you can carry to work would be cheese sticks, nuts, low-fat yogurt, apples and peanut butter, hummus and crackers, hard-boiled egg. Incorporating some sort of protein will help keep you fuller for longer and less likely to graze and run to the break room and get a donut or someone's birthday cake that you were celebrating that day. Again, water. Water is going to help with our skin. It's going to help with our bowel movements. It's going to help with blood pressure, balance out our electrolytes, and prevent us from getting too much unwanted calories and sugar and caffeine from other drinks. Limiting takeout, trying to cook as much as possible at home. But of course, we all are going to be going through that drive-through at some point. It's unavoidable. We're going to be going out to dinner to enjoy meals with our family. So looking for colorful items on the menu will help you stay on track. You could even get your burger with your lettuce and tomato, but then sub out the fries with a fruit cup to kind of get the best of both worlds and satisfy that craving, but also getting that good nutrition. And if any of you were on for the last presentation, this is going to sound familiar. Cooking as a family and eating as a family, it's so important. Cooking together builds lifelong memories for your children, teaches them how to cook, and gets them to be a little bit more curious and adventurous with eating. They tend to eat better and a more variety of foods when they help you cook. And also eating as a family, of course, is very important. So the benefits of planning ahead. So that saves us time, saves us money, helps us stay on track, and it improves your nutrition, which all reduces stress. So we're talking a lot today about reducing the stress and stress management. So you can see when we save our money, when we're making good choices financially, when we're making the most of our time, good time management, all those things help reduce stress. All right, so we're at exercise. So we've got our nutrition as the first part of our triad, and then now we're to our exercise. So get moving. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be an expensive gym membership or, people are really into like CrossFit and all that stuff these days. It doesn't have to be anything really intense. We just want to move our bodies more. So some of the benefits of physical activity, it's not limited to weight loss or looking good. It's much, much deeper than that. So when we exercise, it helps balance out our hormones. There's actually endorphins that are released when we exercise that help reduce stress. It improves our mood. So if you're someone that struggles maybe with depression or anxiety, exercise is really, really helpful. Also helps curb appetite and cravings. So when we exercise, we tend to crave a lot of those like sugary foods, those fatty foods less. It reduces the risk of diabetes because it reduces our blood sugar, reduces risk of heart disease because we're exercising our heart muscle, and reduces the risk of high blood pressure. Helps, of course, maintain a healthy body weight because you're burning those calories, and also you're building muscle. So what's really nice about exercising, if you're trying to slim down or maintain a body weight, whenever you build muscle, you actually burn more calories just sitting and doing nothing. So you actually can eat a little bit more or don't have to cut back as much on your calories because your body naturally is just going to be like an engine. It's going to be burning those calories because you have more muscle. And of course, it improves sleep. We all know that. We try to run our kids around crazy, right? And exercise so that they'll crash and sleep good. So adults need about 30 minutes of exercise a day, children about 60. Now, this doesn't mean if you only have 10 minutes to exercise, or at work you have 20 minutes to go for a walk, doesn't mean that that's not beneficial. Any bit of exercise is helpful. So if you only have 10 minutes or you only have 20, that's great. You still can exercise and become healthier. And children, 60 minutes, that might seem like a lot, but they're so active, they don't realize that they're exercising. So most kids are getting about 60 minutes or more of exercise. But especially now, since we're all kind of trapped indoors, we just want to get creative and make sure that our kids are we're weaning them off the screens a couple times a day and giving them opportunities to move their bodies. So move more. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So find a physical activity you enjoy. It's kind of like nutrition. If you force yourself to eat a bunch of healthy food that you don't like, you're not going to stick to it because that's not enjoyable. Same with physical activity. It should be fun. It should be something that enhances your life. So find something that you enjoy, come up with a plan, have an accountability buddy. So many people at the beginning of the year, they say, I want to be more active. Well, you have to come up with a plan. What does that mean? Does that mean that you're working out or exercising before work, getting up a little early? Does that mean to bring a change of clothes to work, to change afterwards so that you don't go home and get comfy on the couch and not exercise? Does that mean go for a walk every day at the same time during lunch? You have to come up with a plan. And it definitely helps having a friend or a buddy to maybe text or keep in contact with to keep each other on track or to even exercise together. So be physically active as a family. That doesn't only enhance their health because they're being active, but it also teaches them that this is a way of life. If they're active with their family, they're likely going to maintain and kind of implement those healthy lifestyles with their family down the road. So you can play tag, go swimming, walk the dog, having a dance party. I think that's the most fun, and kids really like that. And that just kind of enhances the mood. Having a dance party is fun. Take active breaks at work. We're all sitting a lot these days. So setting an alarm maybe every hour to get up and stretch for 1 to 2 minutes, or going for a walk during lunch. At my previous job, when I worked for the City of Dallas WIC program, we had in a lot of our clinics little signs on the bathroom doors. When you would go to the restroom, it would say, before you go back to work, do 20 squats or do 5 push-ups or something, and that would help you stay active throughout the day. Taking the stairs, a standing desk. Since a lot of us are being forced to work at home, a lot of employers are open to making you comfortable and healthy at home. So nowadays they offer desks where you actually stand versus sit because it's better for your posture and it's better for your legs and your back. So you can talk to your employer, and even at the office, a lot of employers are willing to purchase this desk for you. And then stretching, that may not seem like it's that important. You don't really, build up a sweat, I guess you would say, with stretching, but it is really great for your body. And I included here, so you can see there's a little picture. It's a mom and baby examples of exercising. So it doesn't have to be anything sophisticated or fancy. Just moving your body, and there's a lot of exercises you can do with your baby, and your baby works as a really great weight. Okay, so here are some more examples. Making exercise a social event, doing Zumba with friends, going on a nature walk, going for a run or a walk, investing in inexpensive home equipment, maybe some dumbbells or some ankle weights or some bands, resistance bands. Also, right now, there's a lot of online workout programs for free or for a couple dollars a month. I listed some of my favorites here. I believe Fitness Blender. Some of these are free all year round, but Fitness Blender, Nike, Fit Fusion, Hulu Plus, the Gym Box, and YouTube all offer very inexpensive or free workout programs. All right, so catching those Z's. What's all the hype? We've been told all our lives, get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, right? Who has time for that? Well, I know it's hard. It's hard these days, but it is important. Why have we been told that all of our lives? Well, again, you're gonna recognize a repeat of health benefits that we reviewed with nutrition and then exercise. You're gonna hear that again with sleep. So when we sleep enough for our bodies to recover, so for adults, the 7 to 8 hours, it improves our immunity, so we can fight off infections easier, faster, and we can resist infection better. Mood. So less sleep has been linked to affecting our mood. I mean, we can all relate to when a toddler misses a nap, right? They become very irritable and just unruly. Well, same for adults. If we're not getting the sleep that we need, it affects our mood. We're irritable, we're tired, we can't focus. So when we're getting the sleep that we need, we can focus, we can concentrate better. Getting less sleep has also been linked to a higher weight, because when you're tired, a lot of times you tend to crave foods that are higher in maybe carbohydrates and fat and sugar, because you're looking for something to stimulate you to give you more energy. Blood sugar control is improved with the good sleep. You have less chance of heart attack, stroke, your energy and your performance is better. And of course, for our children, this is why babies sleep so much. This is when their brains develop. This is where their brains regenerate, develop, and this is when children and babies are growing. So it's really important that children have a consistent, healthy bedtime. A lot of what I saw when I worked with families with young children, a lot of the underweight and overweight children were the children that did not have a healthy bedtime schedule. A lot of them were staying up till midnight or 1 o'clock and sleeping late in the day. And that wasn't only my observation. I learned that the research does show that this is linked to not as good of healthy weight with children and development. So we want to make sure our kids are getting enough sleep and going to bed around the same time every night. So how much sleep do we need and do our kids need? Well, we need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Some people can do with a little less. I'm not one of those people. I'm more on the 8-9 hour side, but at least 7 hours of sleep. Teenagers, about 8 to 10, school age 9 to 12, preschool and toddlers, preschool about 10 to 13, toddlers 11 to 14, and our babies, we know they sleep a lot, 12 to 16. And that is because they are growing so fast, their brain development is so rapid, they need more sleep. So that's why you'll see, if you look at the bottom, the babies, and we go up to the top, we need less sleep because we are no longer growing and developing. Okay, so how do we get good sleep? So a lot of us in the world we live in today is very demanding, so it can be hard to get restful sleep. It can be difficult to maintain staying asleep all night. And so some things that help with falling asleep and staying asleep are listed here. So developing healthy sleep habits is really important. So having a consistent bedtime and routine, that's just as important for us as it is for our kids. Climbing into a made bed. I don't know the science. I've never researched the science behind this, but I have read and have experienced myself. It does make a difference. Washing your sheets often, aromatherapy. Something that I do, I bought, I don't know if it was Walmart or Target, a little spray bottle of lavender scent. And about 10 minutes before I go to bed, I spray that on my pillows because it helps me relax and helps me sleep. White noise. If you live in an area where it's loud, you can hear cars going by. Sometimes it helps to have a fan or some type of noise machine to drown out the background noise and can prevent something from waking you up, other than your children, of course. Winding down is important. So not going from a crazy stressful situation, maybe like checking emails or work or dealing with the kids or the husband and going straight to bed. Taking time to read or to pray or take a bath or drink herbal tea, something to help your body unwind. Avoid afternoon naps. If you're someone who is really struggling with sleep and falling asleep, try not to nap in the afternoon. And avoid heavy meals or alcohol or caffeine. Alcohol interrupts our sleep. You don't get restful sleep. So it's important, if you are struggling, having a glass of wine or a drink at the end of the day to wind down might not be the best idea. Exercising helps us sleep. And then evaluating your room. A cooler, darker room is going to enhance your sleep and prevent waking up and allow you to fall asleep faster. And then making sure, of course, that your bed is comfortable. So goal setting. We are almost to the end here. So we talked about being intentional and being mindful. So to be intentional and mindful starts with knowing what you want in terms of your health for you and your family and setting a goal. So find out for your family, are you wanting to be more active? Are you wanting to save money by not eating out as often? Are you wanting to lose weight? Are you wanting to set a good example for your children so that they grow up being active and valuing their health? Are you wanting to fill your cup more often? Being more self-aware, giving yourself more self-care? Or maybe that's you've noticed that it's been a struggle lately. It's been really hard to pick yourself up. You've had kind of a poor mood. Well, maybe your goal would be to get in touch with a mental health professional and see if there's maybe some counseling, medication, something to help support you in that area. So figuring out what's important to you and what you want is the first step. And then setting a goal. So we call these goals SMART goals because, for example, a lot of us tend to say, well, I want to be healthier. Well, that's great. What does that look like? So you have to be specific. Well, I want to exercise more. Okay. Well, how do we measure that? Well, I want to exercise 2 times a week. Awesome. You also want to make sure that the goal is achievable. So for example, well, say I don't exercise at all, but I want to start tomorrow. I would start with maybe a walk versus running a marathon, right? So you want to make sure it's an achievable goal, that it's realistic and that it's timely. So when we set these goals, we want to make sure we're not setting ourselves up for failure, kind of like what we talked about at the beginning of the presentation. If we say tomorrow, I want to start running 10 miles a day, twice a day, and eat 20 servings of fruits and vegetables in a week, you're probably setting yourself up for failure. You might get to that point, maybe in a year or 2 years, but you want to start off with something that's realistic and attainable. And stick it out. Again, we don't see reap the benefits of our behaviors right away. It's kind of like parenting. A lot of times you don't see those benefits for many years down the road. And being healthy is no different. It does take time and patience, and you kind of gotta trust the process. You're gonna have good days and bad days, and that's okay. Be the example. Be healthy and well, and someone that your children look up to. And make wellness a priority in your family. To me, I view wellness just as I do education. It is a priority. It's important. Without being well, with our mind and our bodies and our soul, what do we have? That's the way that we can best enjoy our lives. So in conclusion, eat more fruits and vegetables, move your body, make sleep a priority, manage stress by having a plan, be intentional, and self-care is a necessity. I know all you moms out there probably are pouring into your kids more than you are yourself, but you're important too. Advocate for your mental health. You are the only person who can advocate for your mental health, and you deserve it. So be an advocate for yourself and have fun and laugh. We all know laughter is the best medicine. So take this time that we're all spending more with our families at home and make some fun memories and be silly and just not take life too seriously. And some resources here, you can go to myplate.gov. They have great ideas for being active as a family, how to build a healthy plate, childrenandfamilies.org, excellent mental health resource, and then eatright.org. Great resources for exercise and tailoring nutrition to different maybe ages of people in your family. And that's it. And these are 2 of my little nieces. This was before social distancing. This was last year at swim team. So they were getting in their physical activity together and having fun.
Well, thank you, Bridget. Like last time, you gave wealth of information to everyone. Really enjoyed your presentation. And there are several things that you touched on that are really important right now, especially for families that are cooped up together during quarantine and through COVID to try to stay safe. I know I shared a little bit about what I go through on a daily basis, trying to still find that energy to, when you clock out, find that time to be outdoors. I know some of us have to clock out and then immediately start cooking because the kids have been waiting, and then next thing you know, it's 8 o'clock at night and you have to get ready for the next day. Can you give our parents any tips on how to best make use of that hour right after you get off work?
Yeah. My advice, and I know I probably sound like a broken record, but is planning ahead and having the intent for being active or exercising during that time. So for example, when you know that it's time to clock out and you close that computer, getting up, changing clothes, putting on the tennis shoes, and just making it a point to implement whatever it is that you're trying to do in that hour. If it's not on your mind and you're not thinking about it ahead of time, it's really easy to fall into a routine of maybe sitting down on the couch or going straight into the kitchen and starting to cook. But if you have a routine and you close that laptop and you go put on your tennis shoes and change, typically you'll have an easier time following through.
And also, for mental wellness, for not just parents, but also for kids during this time, I know we spoke about how, toddlers to 6, 7 years old we're starting to see signs of them regressing or them acting out or them getting irritated with us. Any tips on how to promote a healthier or more positive attitude with children around that age? How can we speak to them, engage them so that they release some of that, built up energy that they have?
I think having a conversation is important too, just to recognize. I think if kids understand that we know that times are hard right now and that it's okay to be frustrated and it's okay to be bored, I think is really helpful. Just acknowledging their feelings is very important. Again, getting as much sunshine and movement and activity is extremely important. Now, I know that it's hard that we can't be, these little kids can't be around their friends, but as much as possible with their siblings, if you can, to have them engage with other children, maybe designing activities for them to do together, whether that's putting together a puzzle or having a craft time every day at 2 o'clock. We do something, whether we draw or we make some dough. And also just relying on other professionals. So if you are concerned, if you see some regression, or if you notice that maybe their emotional well-being just is different, it seems off, reaching out to professionals and asking for help.
We do have some comments and questions that have come in. One of them is, what about meal supplements? Any thoughts or advice on that for parents or teenagers, I guess it would be?
I'm assuming like a protein shake kind of. Okay. I think that that's okay every once in a while. There's a need for that. If you're have a really busy day, you don't have time for breakfast and you want to just drink a shake in the morning, I think that's perfectly fine. It is not a replacement though for a meal. Even though it's marketed that way, you are not going to get the same nutrition that you would if you were eating real food. The other thing to keep in mind, liquid metabolizes very quickly. And so it doesn't keep us full for very long. So you might find yourself getting pretty hungry after after having a liquid meal versus a solid meal. But of course, every once in a while, as a go-to when you're busy, no big deal. That's perfectly fine. You just shouldn't rely on that as a normal meal for the day.
Okay, we have another one. To keep to a routine, do you recommend during this time to get dressed for work? And, even though you have to be in front of a computer versus, being in loungewear?
I think it really just depends on you. I've had this conversation with a lot of colleagues, and some people are like, oh, no, it doesn't bother me to be, in my jammies all day. It doesn't affect my mood. I'm fine. And some people are like, no, I have to. I mean, it does affect my mood. And so it really just depends on if you're somebody that thrives on routine, or tends to kind of get the blues, when you're isolated and, not having in-person contact. Then yeah, I think it could be, for some people, it is important to get up and put a little makeup on and put on, you don't have to be fancy. No one's going to be putting their heels on, but maybe just changing clothes out of your pajamas.
We have another one that came in. During this lockdown, I've been able to relieve the stress and being in home all the time. I found out that walking has helped me a lot. I'm not new to working out, but doing it every morning for at least 45 minutes to an hour has really helped me get through these hard times. So thank you to confirming for this.
I'm glad to hear that. Recognize that that's something that you needed and that you saw success with that. I'm not much of a morning person, so I've been guilty of exercising in the evening, but I mean, from what so many people have said and what the research shows, it really does a lot for your energy level and your mood to be active in the morning. So good for you. That's fantastic.
I also was going to attest to that because I try to walk as soon as it doesn't get cooler at 7:30, but the sun's starting to go down. And I do take the little one with me. And while he's also letting go some of that pent up energy, I'm also walking around. And so it helps both of us. And I know sometimes we want to get away, but, also taking your kids with you can help them just like it helps you.
Absolutely. And there's something about just being outside and being in nature that does a lot for our mood. And then for children to be looking at the different plants and the animals and maybe interacting with a dog that's on the walk. I mean, you can't go wrong. It's just being outside and moving your body is going to be beneficial all around.
We're reaching our end time here, but I did want to ask you one last question. Do you have any other tips or advice for parents with younger children that they're the ones that are having the hardest time right now because they miss that interaction? And sometimes us as adults, we don't interact the same way with children. Do you have any tips or advice for those parents that have young children at home?
Sure. Something that I've seen a lot of parents doing, I've done this myself with some girlfriends, is doing like a Zoom call with some friends and all getting on and kind of talking about, the week and just having some laughs and kind of pretending that we're all together, even though we can't physically be in the same room. And a lot of parents are probably thinking, well, how am I going to have time for that? Well, something that's really helpful and is really good for your children that we talked about in the presentation is having even though so many of us are at home, having a healthy and consistent bedtime for your children. So then if you know that they're going to bed, if they're a young one, they should be in bed by 8 o'clock. Then you know that you're going to have a window of time for yourself. So you could schedule a Zoom call at 8:30, 8:30 to 9 with your girlfriends. Or checking in over the phone, I think is really important. Just maintaining that, carving out that self-care time is really important.
Well, Bridget, thank you so much for joining us once again and for giving such great advice to our audience and our parents that are watching. I know they took a wealth of information with them, and hopefully they get to practice all the self-care and the wellness for their family that you have provided.